Welcome to Getting to Know Chronicle. I'm John Stoner, a member of the Adoption Engineering team at Google Cloud, and today we're going to build a multi-event rule with a focus on joining multiple fields and triggering our rule based on the condition of a threshold of an event that's been exceeded. Now, in previous multi-event rule videos, we have discussed joining a single field in each event. But what if we want our rule to have greater rigidity? For example, just because the event happened on the same system is not enough. It needs to be performed on the same system by the same user to merit detection. In addition to multiple joins in a rule, we also are going to look at the conditions that exceed a specific threshold. Previously, we were just looking for the presence of an event meeting our criteria, but perhaps we are seeing multiple events meeting the same criteria, and we only want to detect when a set of this criteria exceeds n number of times. We previously looked at the count in the condition when we were aggregating events in a single event rule. But this time we are going to build on this concept by mixing an event variable's existence and a threshold being exceeded by another set of event criteria. To illustrate these concepts, we're going to build a detection that triggers when a user account is attempting a login 10 or more times inside a 15-minute window, and then succeeds in logging in. For this example, we also want the system that we are attempting and succeeding to log into to be a constant as well. Let's start by naming our rule when repeated authentication failure, then success. I've added the MITRE attack technique and subtechnique to my rule name as well, and added a meta section to describe our rule further. In previous multi-event rule examples, we had very distinct event types, but this time our events are very similar. The difference is that one has an event code and a resulting action denoting a failed login, while the other has a different event code and an action denoting a successful login. Let's use the event variables of fail and success to describe these sets of event criteria. Depending on our use case, we may want to choose to add more criteria, but this will work for our purposes today. We need to create our joins to link the failed and successful logins together. We can use UDM search to view our events in a tabular manner, and we can see that the principal hostname and the target user ID are the common fields that will be used to join our events together. Let's create placeholder variables for both fields in both the fail event criteria and the success event criteria. Now, let's get to ordering. We don't want 10 failed logins and a success in a 15-minute window. We want 10 failed logins before we see a success. We can force that ordering by adding additional criteria that says the fail criteria metadata.event timestamp seconds is less than the success metadata event timestamps.seconds value. With our event criteria in decent shape, let's move to the match section. We know our match window is 15 minutes, but what should we group on? We could group on the user or the host name. Could we group on both? Absolutely. Let's go ahead and do that and separate our match variables with a comma. All right, that leaves us with the condition section. In our previous examples of multi-event rules, we made sure that we had the event variables ANDed together in a condition, like this, $fail and $success. But wait a second. If we did that here, we would be looking for a single failed login and a single successful login in our window. To set a threshold on the number of failed logins, we are going to use the hash sign in front of our event variable rather than the $sign. The hash denotes in the condition that a distinct count of the variable is being performed. By the way, this hash could be prepended to a placeholder variable and generate a distinct count of a specific user ID, for example. But because we are prepending it to an event variable, we are generating a distinct count of the unique failed login events that we have. So our condition would be hash fail is greater than 9 and $success, because we don't need a threshold of success, we just need 1. All right, with all of that in place, we can see our syntax is looking good and we can test our rule. When we test our rule, we can see that we have a single detection and Frank.Kolzig appears to be attempting to log into the active DIR system. we can expand the detection and see the underlying events associated with it. Notice how the event variables of fail and success are represented in each event. I didn't mention this before, but using a descriptive event variable pays dividends for analysts when looking at detections like this. Let's go ahead and add the following fields to our detection: extension auth mechanism, extension auth type, security result description, and source hostname. Notice that it appears that these are all network login attempts, and they appear to be due to a bad password. It's also worth noting that it looks like the failed logins appear to be occurring roughly a minute apart, so perhaps there is some sort of automated tool at work, and this detection requires additional investigation. With that detection example under our belt, remember you can join disparate events by one or more fields, which provides greater flexibility in how you craft your rules. Also remember that in the conditions section, all events in the events section need to be represented, whether it is with the $sign event variable denoting a value, or a hash event variable, or a hash placeholder variable that denote a distinct count that can be reached for the rule to trigger. If you want to learn more about Chronicle, check out my blog series called New to Chronicle for more handy tips. We have a number of community YARA-L detections at our GitHub site and are continually adding more. And don't forget to engage the security community at googlecloudcommunity.com. Thanks.